All right, so now I want to take the time to sort of debunk every sort of standard lie you're about to hear about Israel coming from Islamists and leftists going on. So this is your standard propaganda map that everyone needs to know how to debunk. And this has sort of been used by Palestinian activists and crazy people to say the green land was Palestinian land, and then the white land is the Jews taking over. And this map, although somewhat effective, is a lie. All of it is lies and half-truths. So let's bring up the original Mandate for Palestine map before we go back to this map. So here is the original Mandate for Palestine. This is 1922, right? If you see the Mandate for Palestine, Palestine is currently, it was constructed of modern-day Israel, that is Israel in the west, and Jordan in the east. Palestine was partitioned into two things. Now, I'm going to go over. Let's just go through this first, okay? So Mandate for Palestine, its legal basings actually come 100 years ago in the San Remo Resolution, which is very important to know. Everyone should Google the San Remo Resolution because it disproves every nonsense theory about Israel. Israel is illegally whatever, whatever. No. San Remo is a legal document. French, British, Arab, Jewish, even Japanese were there at the San Remo, and San Remo made the Balfour Declaration legal. It basically set the standard for saying Britain would be a mandatory. Now it's not a they weren't mandate. It wasn't a mandate. They were a mandatory, right? There are grounds for this. French would be a mandatory of Lebanon and Syria. British would have a mandate in Iraq and Palestine. And this set the legal framework for Palestine being a mandate to expressly to have a homeland for the Jewish people. Now, non-Jewish people, of course, can live there as long as they had equal rights. But just how Canada is a Christian nation that celebrates Christmas, Israel could be a Jewish nation that would celebrate Hanukkah, okay? So the legal basing is in San Remo. Now you should know, with the Sykes-Picot Agreement, the Sykes-Picot Agreement was just a handshake thing. San Remo is legally binding. It replaced Sykes-Picot. So anyone who says Sykes-Picot just doesn't know what they're talking about, but likes to pretend they do. Now, San Remo is legally binding because, again, it was approved by the League of Nations. All different sides were there. So it used to be the Ottoman Empire. But Turkey, the new country, signed on to San Remo as part of the Treaty of Sevres in 1922. So everyone, Arabs, Jews, British people, British, French people, and the former occupants, the Ottomans, the Turks, all signed this legal document. It is mandated by the League of Nations, and all those League of Nations mandates signed are actually currently considered law under the UN Charter. So the UN, British, France, Arab, Jews, Turkey, everyone agrees this was legal. Now, when they say illegal, they just don't know what they're talking about. So now let's go back to the propaganda map. So we have the Mandate for Palestine. So now you know. So when they're showing you this land, this original green land, this was the first Palestine. They don't show you the fact that Jordan used to be Palestine, and now it's fully Arab land. So in 1923, when Eastern Palestine became Jordan, all Jews were exiled from Jordan. It is currently illegal to sell land to a Jew in Jordan. It is Judenrein. It's a capital offense. You can be put in jail or even killed if you sell your house to a Jew in Jordan. The Jordanians did the exact same thing when they occupied the West Bank. That's why the West Bank is located in the eastern part of Israel, because it's the West Bank of Jordan. Now, so the first map you see, the green, that's supposed to be all the Palestinians, and the white is just Israel. One, the very bottom, like the bottom triangle, is the Negev. It's all desert. No one lives there. And all the white dots, that's all the land that was explicitly bought by openly Zionist organizations. So it doesn't mean, like, the majority of the occupants in Jerusalem, which is in the center, were actually Jewish, right? There's more Jews living there than Muslims living there. However, that's not Jewish land, because this map doesn't include land that Jews were living on. This only shows land that is explicitly bought by openly Zionist organizations. Okay? So it doesn't mean Jews aren't living other places there. That's just only the land that was explicitly bought by organizations with Zionist in the title. Okay. So then we get to the 47 partition plan, which is number 2. So this is the plan proposed to divide it again. Now, the Jewish people don't have any claim to Jordan as a part of Palestine. They would, but both of them accepted the split of East and West Palestine. Because the Jews thought, okay, we'll take the western part, it's 23%, it has the worst land, they get the better land, but at least it's something we accept. And because the Jews accepted it, and the Jordanians accepted it, Israel doesn't have any legal claim over Jordan. The 47 partition plan here, number 2, this doesn't have legal standing because the white part, the Jewish part, accepted it. The green part, the Arab part, did not accept the plan, declared war on Israel. Egypt, Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, and Jordan all then attacked Israel. So they didn't accept it. So it's not legal because they did not accept it, and then they declared war. So they declared war. And by the way, that war still goes on because they didn't recognize. So now we're talking about the legality of defensive warfare. Okay, so then we get to the sort of the 67 borders. So after the 47 war, the Arabs thought they didn't have to accept it because they just win. But then we get to the map, which is number 3. So that is what you now call the West Bank and Gaza Strip. It's really called Judea and Samaria and Gaza, but let's go on. Now before we get there, let's just bring up this nice little quote from the PLO Charter. Okay, so the Palestinian Liberation Organization, this was an organization that started the Palestinian nation, founded by Yasser Arafat, who was an Egyptian man, an Egyptian terrorist who created the Palestinian people while he was in Jordan. Yes, Yasser Arafat, leader of the Palestinians, was Egyptian. Let's talk about just Article 24. This is the founding charter of the PLO in 1964. This organization does not exercise any territorial sovereignty over the West Bank in the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, or on the Gaza Strip, or in the Himyah area. Its activities will be on a national popular level in the liberational, organizational, and political financial fields. The founding charter of the PLO, which is now Fatah, which then became the Palestinian Authority, so it's all the same party, like the Palestinian Authority, their parent organization, the PLO, in their founding charter, declare they have no sovereignty over the West Bank or Gaza Strip. So now let's go back to this propaganda map. So the reason why there was no such thing as the Palestinian people, because the Palestinian people never really cared about a Palestinian state. In this charter you will also find, if you look it up, they say their goal is Arabism, right? They just want a unified Arab caliphate state run by Muslims for Muslims of Muslims. Like, they don't care about a Palestinian state. They just don't want a Jewish state. It's in their founding charter. So the reason what you have here is that's not Palestine in 1967. That major green plot in map number 3, that's Jordan. And the other one, that's Egypt at the time. Why didn't Jordan and Egypt create a Palestinian state? Because it's never about a Palestinian state. That's why it's called the West Bank, because there's a river on the other side, and they want the West Bank of the river. That's what it's called, right? That's why the West Bank is in eastern Israel. Okay, now, Jordan lost this territory in the 67 war, and they actually ceded their claim to the territory in the late 1980s. So legally, that's part of Israel. Now, legally, you could call it a disputed territory. That's it's officially. It's officially a disputed territory. But there's actually only one claimant in that dispute. So if they were Israel to annex it, the disputed territory, there's no other country with a legal dispute there. So here we go. Now, to the final map. This is how the Palestinians have been reduced. These green areas, this is actually the Oslo Accords, which was a terrible idea. But those new green areas in the fourth map were actually the first ever self-governing Palestinian organizations. In an attempt at peace in Oslo, Israel helped give sovereignty to these areas where the Palestinian Authority, within the PLO, would actually run these areas. So that final green dot is actually the first ever self-governed Palestinian organization in all of world history. So this map is a total lie. And this is sort of everything you need to know to debunk all the conspiratorial anti-Semitic nonsense that will be coming your way.